Hi guys, welcome back to another video.
We're back in the AMD test center with Larry. He's one of our top engineers. Today, Larry wants to help provide you with a cure for your insomnia with a belabored explanation of AMD dual graphics.
It's actually a very exciting technology of great benefit to the user.
I'm kidding, Larry. I know you're going to kill with this stuff. Okay, AMD dual graphics. Hit me, Larry.
Okay.
We're back to multi-GPU testing, and in part 2, it's time to check out AMD and their CROSSFIRE technology. We are of course utilizing this gorgeous pair of Radeon HD 3870's. Let's jump straight into it. Released in November 2007 as ATI's most powerful offering, the HD 3870 was aimed at the mid-range market, which of course reflects its reasonable MSRP of $269. GPU was manufactured on 55nm process, runs a 776MHz core clock and features 320 shading units. There's 512MB of fast GDDR4 memory using a 256-bit bus. The card supports DirectX 10 and has a TDP rating of just 106 watts. In order to keep the consistency, I'm of course using the same X99 system running overclocked i7 6850K and 32GB of DDR4 memory. Here's a quick comparison with NVIDIA 8800 GTS that we tested in part 1. The HD 3870 comes in 1 year later and $180 cheaper. It was made on a smaller 55nm process. Runs a higher core clock, and although there is less of it, it uses a faster GDDR4 memory and, let's not also forget, the considerably lower TDP. Right, predictions anyone? Can this pair of 3870's match NVIDIA? Before we jump into benchmarks, I'm of course going to treat these beauties to a fresh thermal paste and we get to look at them in detail. Both cards are of the reference design, one of them was made by Sapphire and the other one is just a standard Dell offering. Cards are 2-slot wide and require a single 6-pin power connector. Display options are dual DVI and a single S-video out. Taking apart these cards is a matter of removing 4 screws from the GPU brace, and I can't help but to notice the really simple blower cooler design and use of a lot of copper. Damn! GPU die size is less than half of what the 8800 GTS has, or in other words, it's tiny in comparison. I'm going to apply a small blob of MX4 and give both cards a quick wipe. Finishing this properly, a much needed tightening of I/O screws. Now we are ready. Starting off with synthetics, here is a 3D Mark Vantage. Both cards see 99% usage and you gotta love that CROSSFIRE logo in the top right corner. I always have it enabled for 10% extra performance. Using Extreme preset, pair of 3870's pushed nearly 3700 points, showing excellent 86% scaling, but despite this, pair of 88 GTS's remain faster by around 14%. Round 2 goes to Heaven benchmark. Here, Team Red scored 460 points and took victory by a very small 3% margin. It's interesting to see single 8800 GTS being faster over the 3870, but CROSSFIRE with excellent 95% scaling might be the answer. Now let's replay those games. I'm still arguing with pesky soldiers in Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. Pair of 3870's pumped 115 FPS on average and a solid 60 FPS 1% lows, more than enough for a silky smooth gameplay. Still, 8800's were faster by 13%. BIOSHOCK with max preset shuffled results and pair of 3870's takes a victory point. 131 FPS on average means a nice 12% edge over NVIDIA in this game. However, it's worth mentioning that 1% lows were actually worse with CROSSFIRE. Keeping up the good pace, let's visit Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Oh boy, I quickly realized this game runs so much better on NVIDIA's hardware. Not sure by how much, but that extra VRAM must be helping. Looking at the results then, this is a first major blow for Team Red, losing by 69%. Nice. Despite excellent usage across both cards, the subpar performance continued even in Fallout 3. 3870's managed 43 FPS on average, which was over 30% slower than the 8800's, but what's even worse are those awful 1% lows. Cousin, how about we play some GTA 4 next? I'm using low settings and results favour Team Red. 3870's delivered 52 FPS on average and 1% lows at 22. Yes, still a stuttering mess, but a win is a win. Back to my fave, classic MAFIA 2. Looking at the results, it's a win-win. Using CROSSFIRE delivered 33% more FPS on average and a big uplift of 1% low figures. The original GPU melter comes next. Crysis 1 with medium settings runs better on a pair of 3870's, but of course there's a catch. Where we get a 7% improvement on average FPS, we are hit with a 20% worse 1% lows. And I can't quite decide which is better. Let's close off with the first in original Dead Space. See that fat zero in our second HD 3870 usage? That's right, I could not get this game to work with CROSSFIRE. Boo. At least, we can compare single GPU performance, not that it helps. 8800 GTS is faster and provides a much smoother 1% lows. This was our first CROSSFIRE entry into the multi-GPU series, and well done ATI. I didn't experience any problems during testing with glitchy textures, and 3870 showed some great scaling across most of the games we tested today, often matching and sometimes even beating the much more expensive and power-hungry pair of 8800 GTS's. At the end of the day, 3870 is weaker than 8800 GTS, but when you consider that you could almost buy two of them for the price of one 8800 GTS, and not to mention the lower power consumption, 3870 was definitely worthy of your consideration. The most obvious downside is the smaller amount of VRAM, which limits some games at 1080p. However, it's less of a problem when we look back at the most common resolutions used around the time when these cards were actually relevant. Did you expect those results? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and consider subscribing, it really helps. In the next round, we will go back to Nvidia and their 8800 GTX. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.